As Officer Daniels scanned the dimly lit parking lot, his eyes locked on a small figure huddled between the cars, a 3-year-old girl, all alone. Approaching her cautiously, he knelt down and gently asked, "Where's your mommy?" Her tear-filled eyes met his as she whispered words that sent a chill down his spine. "Mom doesn't want me home." What could drive a mother to abandon her child in such a way? The truth behind her heartbreaking words would soon unravel a mystery far darker than anyone could have imagined. Officer Jason Daniels was just finishing his routine patrol at the bustling Clearwater Mall when something unusual caught his eye. Tucked away in the farthest corner of the parking lot, amidst a sea of cars and shopping carts, was a tiny figure sitting all alone. It was a little girl, no more than 3 years old, her small frame barely noticeable among the towering vehicles surrounding her. Jason's heart sank as he approached the child, who was huddled against the cold concrete. He knelt down beside her, speaking softly so as not to startle her. "Hey there, sweetheart! Are you lost? Where's your mommy?" The girl, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, looked up at him with a mixture of fear and sadness. Her response was a whisper, but the words hit Jason like a punch to the gut. "Mom doesn't want me home." For a moment, Jason was too stunned to react. Surely this was just a misunderstanding. How could any parent abandon such a small child? He quickly shook off his shock, reminding himself to stay focused. This little girl needed him to be strong. "What's your name, sweetie?" he asked gently, trying to keep the conversation light. "Ella," the girl replied, her voice barely audible. "That's a beautiful name," Jason said with a warm smile, hoping to ease her anxiety. "I'm Officer Jason. How about we go find your parents together?" But as soon as he mentioned her parents, Ella's expression changed. The tears that had been threatening to spill over finally did, and she shook her head vigorously. "No, Mommy doesn't want me." Jason's heart ached at the sight of the distraught child, but he knew he needed to keep her calm. He decided not to press the issue for now. Instead, he took her small hand in his and led her back into the mall. Inside, they headed straight for the security office. Jason explained the situation to the officer on duty, who promptly made an announcement over the mall's loudspeakers, requesting that Ella's parents come to the information center immediately. But as they waited, it became increasingly clear that no one was coming for her. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, and the mall began to empty out as closing time approached. Still, no one appeared to claim the little girl. Jason glanced down at Ella, who was now playing quietly with a stuffed animal the security officer had given her. He couldn't understand how a parent could just leave a child like this. Something was very wrong. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Jason decided to take Ella to the police station. He couldn't just leave her in the care of mall security when it was clear that her situation was far more serious than a simple case of a lost child. "Ella, how about we go for a little ride?" he suggested, trying to keep his tone upbeat. "We can look for more yellow cars on the way." Ella nodded, seemingly eager for the distraction. Jason led her to his patrol car, and soon they were on their way to the station. As they drove, Jason noticed the state of Ella's clothes and hair. Both were dirty and unkempt, as if she had been neglected for some time. When they arrived at the station, Jason was greeted by his colleague, Officer Michelle Carter, who had a reputation for being great with kids. Michelle quickly took Ella under her wing, offering her some toys and snacks while Jason got to work. He spent the next few hours combing through databases, searching for any reports of missing children that matched Ella's description. But no matter how hard he looked, he found nothing. It was as if she didn't exist. Frustrated but not willing to give up, Jason decided to check the mall's security footage. Maybe it would give him a clue as to how Ella ended up in that parking lot. He rewound the tapes to the time when he first found her and watched closely. There, on the grainy footage, he saw a nondescript car pull into the parking lot. It was old and beat up, the kind of vehicle that had seen better days. The car stopped near the far corner, and after a few moments, a small figure emerged from the back seat, Ella. She stood there, looking around as if waiting for someone to tell her what to do. But then, the car drove off, leaving her behind. Jason froze as he watched the car disappear from the frame. He rewound the tape and watched it again, this time jotting down the license plate number. But when he ran the plate through the system, he hit another dead end. It wasn't registered to anyone. Puzzled and increasingly concerned, Jason returned to the interrogation room where Michelle was still sitting with Ella. The little girl was playing with a doll, seemingly more relaxed now. But Jason knew that behind those innocent eyes was a story waiting to be uncovered. "Ella," he began gently, "can you tell me where you were before you came to the mall? Was there a house or a place you stayed at?" Ella looked up at him, her brow furrowing as she tried to remember. "There was a big house," she said slowly. "It had blue doors." That was all Jason needed to hear. He thanked Ella and asked Michelle to keep an eye on her while he continued his investigation. A house with blue doors. That was something he could work with. The next day, Jason began scouring the town, searching for the mysterious blue door house. He drove through neighborhoods he hadn't visited in years, knocking on doors and asking questions. But no one seemed to know anything about a little girl named Ella or a house with blue doors. Just as he was about to give up, he found it. A large, dilapidated house at the edge of town, its once bright blue doors now faded and chipped. The windows were boarded up, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. It looked like no one had lived there in years. Jason approached the house cautiously, feeling a sense of unease as he pushed open the creaking front door. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the furniture was covered in sheets as if the owners had left in a hurry. As he explored the house, Jason stumbled upon a hidden room behind a bookcase. Inside, he found a collection of old letters, carefully preserved despite the decay around them. The letters were from a woman, Ella's mother, Jason realized, desperately pleading for help. She wrote about her fears for her daughter's safety, her struggles with illness, and her inability to care for Ella on her own. It was clear that Ella's mother had been in dire straits, overwhelmed by her circumstances. But there was no mention of where she had gone or what had happened to her. The last letter was dated several months ago, leaving Jason with more questions than answers. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Jason visited a local women's shelter that had been mentioned in the letters. There he learned the heartbreaking truth: Ella's mother had passed away after a long battle with illness. With no other family to turn to, she had left Ella at the mall in a desperate hope that someone would find her and give her a better life. Jason's heart broke as he realized the depth of the mother's despair. She had been trying to protect her daughter in the only way she knew how, even if it meant leaving her in the hands of strangers. But now, Ella wasn't alone. Jason made a promise to himself and to Ella's mother that he would do everything in his power to give the little girl the life she deserved. He began the process of becoming her foster parent, determined to provide her with the love and stability she had been denied. In time, Jason discovered that Ella had maternal grandparents who had been searching for her ever since her mother's disappearance. The reunion was emotional and bittersweet as Ella finally found the family she had lost. But the bond between Jason and Ella remained strong. He became her godfather, a role he took to heart. Together, they forged a new life filled with love, hope, and the promise of a brighter future. Jason often reflected on how Ella had changed his life, teaching him the true meaning of compassion and the power of second chances. It was a story that had started in a lonely parking lot, but ended with a family found and a future secured.